Throughout the annals of history, there have been many captivating figures within it. There is Julius Caesar, the famed Roman dictator who would found the Roman Empire and set history on a completely different course from where it might have headed if he had not existed. Then there's Alexander the Great, who came before Julius Caesar, a man who conquered much of the known world in such a short span of time and no doubt set up the world for what was to come. Since then, there have been countless historical figures who have shaped the world into what it is today. There has been William the Conqueror, there has been Charlemagne, there has been Catherine the Great, there's been Frederick the Great, there's been Peter the Great, a lot of greats. There has also been Justin Bieber. But maybe more than anyone else, the one who captivates the mind like no other is a rather short man by today's standards. He was average height for the time. And that man was born on the island of Corsica, which is not very well known aside from the fact it's where this man was born. And this man is Napoleon Bonaparte, or Napoleon Bonaparte. Did you like that? I like that. And this man has shaped history more perhaps than anyone else for a number of different reasons. Because of the time he ruled in, because of the things he did, because of the way the relationships with countries were shaped and destroyed and built because of this man. Many things have happened because of Napoleon Bonaparte. And many people might ask, who is Napoleon Bonaparte? Who was Napoleon Bonaparte? Why is he important? What did he do? Why is there a movie out right now about this famed man with a funny hat and a funny accent? Well, my friends, let's dive into the subject of who was Napoleon Bonaparte. Now, this is not going to be an in-depth biography. It's not going to be a full novel. If you want to read one, there are plenty out there. He's one of the most written about men in history, in the company of Jesus Christ and Julius Caesar himself and Muhammad. He's with so many people because this is where he is viewed in history. He's viewed as being as important as some of these most famous people. So here we go. Let's dive into who was Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte was born on August the 15th, 1769 on the relatively irrelevant island of Corsica. If Napoleon had been born 2 years earlier, he would have been Italian and not French. However, today there are still many people out there who will claim he's Italian and not French, and that's not how it works. The island was certainly French at the time of Napoleon's birth, and yeah, that's another rant. We're going too off topic already. This is a bad start. Jeez. And Napoleon emerged from humble beginnings, relatively. He was a minor nobility, and he became one of history's most formidable military and political leaders. His early military education in mainland France, where he attended the famed military school Brienne, set the stage for a meteoric rise through the ranks during the turbulent period of the French Revolution, which is, again, another historical subject which can't be contained to one video. A lot happened in the French Revolution, and Napoleon was there to witness nearly all of it, so that's another video for another time. Napoleon's military prowess became evident during the Italian campaigns of the 1790s. His strategic brilliance and innovative tactics led to a series of stunning victories against the Austrian and Italian forces, earning him widespread acclaim and recognition. Throughout most of Napoleon's military career, he would be a thorn in the side of the Austrians, then mostly referred to as the Holy Roman Empire, which, if you listen to Voltaire, was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire, and he would eventually break it. So yeah, we'll get to that later. In 1798, after the very successful Italian campaign, where Napoleon had built up a very strong reputation as one of the world's greatest military leaders, in 1798 Napoleon embarked on the Egyptian campaign, aiming to disrupt British access to India, where Britain gained most of its trade. Though military success was mixed, the expedition's impact on history was significant. The discovery of the Rosetta Stone during this period facilitated the deciphering of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. So even though the Egyptian campaign, though often glossed over, it was not one of Napoleon's best moments, and in fact it was a moment which could have destroyed him if things had gone slightly different. He even left his troops behind towards the end to go back to France and become the first consul. If he didn't do this and he stayed, it would have become evident that the Egyptian campaign had failed. But he managed to build up the ability to make even losses look like victories. He was very good at this, and this would benefit him throughout his entire career as first consul, as emperor, as a general, and so 1804. Then came the coup of 18 Brumaire. Returning to France in 1799 after the Egyptian campaign, Napoleon capitalized on political instability within France, which had been going on for 10 years at this point. In the famous coup of the 18th Brumaire, November the 9th, 1799, he overthrew the Directory and established a consulate, consolidating power and effectively ending the French Revolution. So, kind of crazy to think about that. The French Revolution, which began with Maximilien Robespierre and the French people being unsettled with a monarchy which was just stale and waning, and France being poor and on the decline because of funding the United States against Britain and so forth. It's crazy to think that this was all resolved by a man from Corsica, which had just 30 years prior not even been French. Anyway, I digress. As first consul and later emperor, Napoleon instituted a series of comprehensive legal reforms known as the Napoleonic Code, or the Code Napoleon. This civil law system, still influential to this day, emphasized equality before the law, individual rights, and meritocracy, shaping legal principles in many countries. In 1804, in a move which angered many of his biggest fans, who believed he was going to follow the French Revolution and instill democracy across Europe, friends notably including Beethoven, who famously ripped up a long piece of music he was writing in tribute to Napoleon. Napoleon made himself emperor, so in 1804 he abandoned the French Revolution, which had sought to destroy the monarchy in France, and made himself a monarch. So he crowned himself the Emperor of the French, marking the establishment of the First French Empire, and his military campaigns would then expand the empire's borders, reaching their zenith in 1812. At its height, Napoleon's French Grand Empire included territories from Spain to Poland, and throughout his tenure as the French Emperor, Napoleon would have many victories. He would have most notably the Battle of Austerlitz, which took place on the 2nd of December 1805. But what is important to consider is that things don't last forever, and Napoleon's empire was never going to last because there were too many powers preventing it from doing so. Most notably Russia. Everyone is familiar with how Napoleon failed in Russia. He's often drawn comparisons to Hitler, who also failed in Russia, but they're very different people. Don't compare them. Very bad thing to do. But even before the war in Russia, the Russian campaign, there was the Peninsular War, where Napoleon sought to force Portugal, an ally of Britain, Britain's longest serving ally, force Portugal into submission so that they would stop trading with Britain during a time when Napoleon had introduced his continental system, a mode of blockading Britain from trade with Europe, which had mostly been conquered by Napoleon. But Portugal kept trading with Britain. Napoleon sought to force them not to, and it backfired tremendously and resulted ultimately in his undoing, which would certainly culminate in 1814 with the failed Russian campaign. His once mighty Grande Armée, his favorite army, his favorite generals, his favorite soldiers, they would face defeat in 1814, and Napoleon would be forced into exile for the first time to the island of Elba, another small Mediterranean island, perhaps even more irrelevant than Corsica. And this was in some ways done to humiliate Napoleon, but also done out of respect. The British, when they defeated Napoleon, they could have just captured him and had him executed, but there was a lot of respect for Napoleon. They also know that executing him would be a terrible thing for potential uprisings, and it could lead to a whole other world of problems for Europe. And they just wanted to establish peace at this point. So Napoleon was forced into exile. He would come back.
You want to kill your emperor? Here I am.
During a period known as the 100 Days in 1815, he would rally support, briefly reclaim power from Louis XVIII, who had managed to reinstall the Bourbons onto the throne in France, and he would face ultimate defeat again at the Battle of Waterloo before being exiled to the remote African island of St. Helena, a British colony. So Napoleon was exiled to St. Helena in the South Atlantic, and he would spend his remaining years here in confinement until his final death in 1821. Napoleon believed he was being slowly poisoned with arsenic, and it's not fully proven if he was or wasn't, but he believed he was, and science, or the British rather, say that he was killed by stomach cancer. Signs which had been traceable, really, noticeable since Waterloo in 1815. Napoleon had reportedly spent most of the Waterloo battle in considerable pain in the stomach area, so it's highly possible. Who truly knows? There's no way of knowing without a full look at the body, a full autopsy, and it's not going to happen. So So yeah, that is the story of Napoleon. Of course, there is no way you can tell the story of Napoleon in 9 minutes. The new Napoleon movie is 2.5 hours long. There's no way you can tell the whole story in that time either. But this is a quick run through his life, and if you find any of it interesting, you should definitely go and read some of the material out there. There are plenty of YouTube videos out there. There are plenty of movies, series. There's loads of stuff which chronicles Napoleon's life better than a 9-minute YouTube video can. So please go and check them out. And we'll be back on Wednesday for our next video. Who knows what it's going to be? It's a surprise to us too, because we haven't recorded it yet. And it's good to be making content for you. We hope you subscribe. We hope you stay around, and we hope you most of all enjoy what we're putting out, because it takes time to make, and it's always good to see people enjoying something that you've spent time making. So please stick around, please stay with us, and we hope to keep delivering history content that you enjoy. So have a lovely day, and we'll see you on Wednesday for the next video. Aha! At Waterloo, Napoleon did surrender. Oh yeah, that's a song by ABBA. It also features Napoleon. You didn't know that now, did you? Goodbye!